students, I thought it would be useful for you to see how I will evaluate the problem memos. So I'm going to talk you through two or three memos, depending on how much time we have, to show you what I'm looking for in the problem memo. Okay, as you will notice, this is a sample from last semester. I've taken the student's name off, and it is written in a memo format, and that's what I want these first two parts of the proposal assignment to be written in a memo format. The topic of this is building a dog park within an apartment complex, and this is the bungalows. I'm going to read through this and just give you my thoughts on how it works. Okay, it is very common for bungalow tenants to have pets as companions. Early mornings and afternoons are prime walking times for these tenants because these are the most convenient times for working professionals to get their pets out of the apartment and exercise. The paved roads inside the complex gates are convenient and long enough for pets to get adequate exercise. There are also large, well-maintained lawns that are great for dogs to roam and interact with other dogs. Now, this is supposed to be the introduction, but what you will notice is this is actually the A side to the problem statement. So this student needs to go back and write a real introduction. When I say a real introduction, an introduction is a more general picture of what the whole memo is about, or the whole document is about. So this needs to be moved and be the first part of the problem section, and then she needs to write a real introduction. Okay. Here's the B side. Due to the large military presence of the bungalows, early mornings and afternoons are also busy times for tenants coming to and from work. These peak hours of traffic create an unsafe environment for pets and their owners, which in turn discourages owners from walking at these convenient times. This lack of exercise can cause pets to act out and be a nuisance during the day, barking. And because some of the grass areas are near the roads, pets will need to remain on a leash so as not to get injured by traffic. Another issue with the lawns is that the tools needed to clean up after pets are not available. This has caused some of the well-maintained grass areas to become dirty from pet waste left behind by pets and owners. Okay, this is actually quite a good problem statement. You see you've got the A side up here. She needs to probably put what I call the big but phrase. She needs to say however or on the other hand. And then this is the B side. It'd also be helpful to her right here to write her proposal objective. Say something like the purpose of this proposal will eventually be to propose a dog park, or is that what she's saying? Building a dog park for the dogs. Now she moves into the causes section, and you can see that she has about 3 or 4 sentences for the causes and 4 or 5 for the effects. This is not nearly adequate. She needs to add more detail. She probably needs 2 or 3 paragraphs for each cause, and 2 or 3 paragraphs for the effects, probably doubling these 2 sections. Let's look at her criteria. Now, as I mentioned before in my audio file and criteria, the criteria are what the solution must meet. It's not the solution itself. And here we have the first criterion is multiple parks throughout the complex or one large dog park. That's a criteria, or that's a solution. She should say something like there should be a park large enough, or a dog park that was large enough or sufficient enough for the owners and pets for this apartment complex. And then instead of sufficient funding, she's actually looking at solutions again. The solution must be reasonable in terms of its cost. And here we finally get a criterion. Large enough for multiple dogs to run and play, great. Needs to be completely enclosed with gates, kind of a solution, but it's also a criterion. Needs to be easy to maintain, very good criterion. And I don't know, it needs to be, probably she should say it needs to be insurable. Okay, and then the conclusion. In the conclusion, you just summarize what it will do, and she does a pretty good job here. Providing a safe area for pets to exercise and tools for pet owners to clean up with would be beneficial for the bungalow's apartment complex as well as pet owners. A dog park would prevent injuries to pets and possibly owners, as well as damages to apartments and added cost for tenants. The cost of building and maintaining, you see the typo there, could be funded by monthly pet fee. And here, if you want to start talking about the solution, that's fine. But I want most of you to hold off on the solutions till we actually get to the full proposal. Okay, this is the first draft. It's a good draft, but as you see, it has some work to do. She needs to write a real introduction. She needs to have a transition between the A-B sides. She needs to greatly develop the causes and effects, and she needs to revise the criteria to make them criteria rather than solutions. Okay, here's a second problem memo, and this is written by a student from Mexico. As you'll note, it will take place in Chihuahua City. And this is to plant managers, sub-manager, and human resource people. And this is titled Mistakes Done by the Sales, Buying, Stores Department. And you'll see there's a few non-native speaker errors in English, but that's a draft, and that's actually, this student has great English, given that his first language is Spanish. But in this memo is explained the current situation in which the mistakes in the store buying sales department have become more common. The memo will point out the problem in hand and the way it has affected the company and how it will continue doing it in the future. The main reason for this document is to fully inform the directives about a certain failure of the system, which can hopefully be addressed as needed. Now, despite some of the issues, ESL issues, this is a good introduction. It says what the memo's for, it gives its purpose, it forecasts what will happen. And now this student, he goes in to the problem section. He sets up his A side. CAV Aerospace is an industry-leading company in structural components for airplanes. The main client of CAV is Hawker Beechcraft, which is an experienced company. He goes through and lays out all of the ideal situation of this company, and especially in these departments. Okay. In such industries where there is little margin of error, a highly rigorous control must exist on the pieces produced in terms of quality, tolerances, and delivery. The first and last place for all the workflows in a company would be buying, stores, and shipping, and in CAV Aerospace. These three departments are joined together. As a consequence, this department will develop the task of all the previous. For this to happen, the employees in the department are competent enough, or he should say, should be competent enough to handle the workload expected from well-trained, focused, and motivated person. Also, the number of employees has to be in sync with the amount of work that the department must handle. As a result, the work is done properly, and he should say should be done properly. The company would save money, and the objectives are reached, and clients are satisfied. Quite a good A side. It actually sets up the benchmark. Now we'll move to the B side. However, this department mingles all its processes and responsibilities as if it was only one department. This is unorganized and as a result allows a lot of room for mistake. On the other hand, this shouldn't be happening if the department had enough people with the skills necessary to perform all the activities. The reality is that at the time there was only one person qualified to perform the tasks of all three departments. The other two employees who were never trained to perform the tasks that are asked from them, and by consequence the department just cannot get all the work done. On the other hand, the work that gets through many times is criticized by the quality department, which indicates that there must be something being done the wrong way. This situation has made this department a closely observed one, turning into an unbearable and stressful environment for the employees. Lots of little ESL errors, but an excellent A-B statement. Sets up the benchmark here, then it gives you the reality, and the reader is brought in to this dissonance, and it sets up the dissonance well. Here he probably should state and the purpose of this proposal, etc., but he can save that till later. Okay, and then he goes into the causes, and here the causes are one long paragraph. He probably should break it up into at least 2, maybe 3 paragraphs, but he talks about the causes. First one is it's understaffed, and the second one is the staff is untrained, and what is expected is beyond their capabilities. Okay. And third, the department head could be training them, but the work in the department is there's too much work, and there's many mistakes, and that makes the work order not organized well. Okay. So he does a good job with causes, the effects. As a result of this failing organization, many parts have been manufactured with a lot number not corresponding with raw materials. A lot of sheet metal pieces have been damaged, errors in shipping packages, double work orders, delays. So he does a really good job of laying out the effects from the problem and the causes. He gives a little bit of history. This is actually very helpful. Talks about how this problem came about. Does a much better job than the previous student, and shows how the problem has evolved, and gives the readers a real good history. This probably ought to be broken up into 2 paragraphs. Gives about the future of the problem, what will happen if the problem is not solved. Let's look at his criteria. Have control in the company's work process. That's not a solution. That's a good criteria. The criteria does come out of the problem section. Accounts for all raw materials. Great criterion. Acknowledges working, resting time. A little ESL problems there, but it is talking about the need to work and rest. Training to meet requirements. Excellent. A sufficient workforce to handle the workload. Excellent. I think these criteria are sufficient. I think they get at all of the problem. And then he has a conclusion. This problem memo, after we worked with a student to clean up VSL errors, was a very strong one. Okay, that gives you an idea, gives you 2 drafts of the problem memos. And it gives you an idea of what I'm looking for. If you go back to the criteria sheet, you'll see that I give you the instructions for this assignment based on the Prios format. Go through this very carefully, but you'll see that you'll see that how I evaluated those 2 was based on this assignment sheet. The purpose of the final proposal is to help an organization carry out its goals, function better, improve its methods and norms of operation. The purpose of this memo is to describe and justify the final proposal, explaining the severity of the problem and how the problem affects the organization. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. This problem memo is exploratory. Its purpose is to define and explore the problem, setting the parameters for the audience memo and final proposal. So you don't need to use research on this problem memo, but you will set up research problems that you will address in the audience memo. Here's the sections, and this is exactly what I was looking for. There's a memo heading in the introduction. Problem section, I want an AB problem statement, causes, effects, history, and future. Sometimes history and future, you can blend those because they become easier to blend. But I want a really good AB problem paragraph or 2 paragraphs, and you saw me evaluating those carefully. Good paragraph or 2, usually 2 on causes, usually 2 or 3 on effects. And then we have criteria, and I've talked about them, and then a conclusion. Okay, I hope this helps you understand how I look at the problem memo. Once you get a really good problem memo, it's very easy. It's much easier to actually do your research on the audience memo and actually write the final proposal. Thank you.